Mac, in season 7, episode 4 of The Simpsons, entitled Bart Sells His Soul, in the episode, Bart sells his soul to Milhouse for $5. And with that $5, he buys these sponge dinosaur toys that when you spray them, he envisions in his mind them becoming giants and attacking his sister. But when he actually goes to spray these dinosaur sponges with the hose, they just grow a little bit and then go down the drain. Completely disappointed by his purchase, and well, it's just $5. What I saw from my son yesterday, he had saved his allowance for a total of 10 days.
What do you give him allowance for?
If he stays in bed, he gets $2.
Okay. All right.
I just want to sleep.
Yeah.
If he stays in bed, he gets $2. So he saved his allowance, $20. He had been wanting and saving up for this Spider-Man web shooter that you can put on your wrist, and when you pull it, it shoots out a string. Yes.
Yeah.
So he finally got it. He was so excited. He went outside, clipped it all on, put the glove on, and he went to thwip, and out came this little dinky line of web shooter, and the look on his face, the excitement drained from his body.
Did you shake up the silly string?
I took it up. It was ready to go. Nothing great.
Yeah. Don't meet your heroes, right? That's what they say. I can't tell you. Oh, I'm trying to think of a toy that disappointed the shit out of me.
I can tell you one for me right now. One that I thought once I put them on, I could jump from the bottom of my backyard.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Perfect example. Moon boots. So bad. So bad, dude. So fucking bad. Not only could you not walk in them, when you attempted to jump to the moon, you didn't jump at all. You didn't jump at all.
Had to wear them on concrete to get any kind of leverage. And they
had
no stick on the bottom. Like, no, they weren't sticky. So you're jumping and then you're kind of sliding and like holding yourself back from dying every single time.
Absolutely perfect example of what I was referring to. Those fucking sucked. And you know what? You know, the technology wasn't quite there in the 90s to get some real fun. Like, eventually we got Tamagotchis and whatnot. But those early to mid 90s toys there were so many, like the moon boots or moon shoes, whatever they were called, where like they fucking roped you in with a dope ass commercial, a little zinger. You get them for Christmas or your birthday, and you're like, these suck.
One goo, three, yeah. Goo. Jaws 3. Goo. King of Queens. Goo. Meryl Streep. Entertainment.
I'm Goo.
And I'm Mac.
And we are the Mac and Goo program. We bring you, once again, 2024.
Yep. In prep for the upcoming Oscars this weekend, Goo and I are going to sit down together and hash out, not even actually, we're going to hash out what the top 4 movies of 2024 are and then present them to you, the listeners. You'll be able to vote on this on X. So, hey, if you're listening to this episode, I'm sure the poll will be out on X. And as we whittle down the 2024 movies to the final 4, we'll be talking about the year overall, talking about the worst movies, the dishonorable discharges, shout out Sarge, the most disappointing movies of the year, the meh movies, the fine movies, the middle ones, the movies that were worth money spending or worth spending your money on to see in the theater or maybe even a home release. And then a couple of underrated movies that we still want you to see that we haven't heard anyone talking about. And then your honorable mentions before we finally get into the Mount Rushmore of 2024 movies.
So without any further ado, Mac, shall we take a step back in time?
Oh, run it back. If you're new to the program here, this was a Mac and Goo staple for like 3 years. We did Mac and Gooey Vaults and went back to specific years. We went all the way back to 1985 because Goo and I aren't that old. We just aren't that old, and there weren't that many good movies prior to that. So we
Well,
ended
there are great movies. It's just that we weren't. It's a little before our time, and we actually might go back to 1980 because we need content.
Yeah, there are great movies, but there were like if you go to a particular year pre-85, it's almost amazingly clear what the best movie of the year is. There weren't a ton of contenders, and then as the 80s moved on, better and better movies got made. So now we just basically do 1 year at a time at the end of the prior year. So we're doing 2024. And Goo, on the whole, I feel like 2024 was solid, but pretty lackluster. Like if you even look at the last decade outside of the COVID shortened season in 2020, this has got to be one of the more down years of the last
I would say
decade.
a weak year. I would say that you have a dirty dozen of pretty solid movies with a couple at the top that are very good, but I don't think that we have the top heavy, that middle bunch that's still really solid. I just look at a lot of meh.
Yeah, I think there's a clear like 4, 5, or 6 movies that I really loved. And after that, a whole bunch of movies I'm probably never going to see again. And you look back to some of the recent years and there's like 8, 10, 12 movies I might want to own from this year, maybe 3, 4, like, and that's a good way I think in picturing at least people our age, no one's really buying movies anymore, but a movie you might want to own to show other people, shout out the Boxers. That was part of their rating system. And from this year, there's really only 3 or 4 that I would want to own so that I could show people.
I actually might, because I did notice last year on Black Friday that the 4K DVDs, like the top notch of the fucking Blu-rays, are like dirt cheap. I might start buying a couple every once in a while because picture quality-wise, sound quality-wise, it's way better than streaming.
Yeah, and if the apocalypse ever hits and somehow we still have electricity but no internet, you can go ahead and play the 4Ks.
As long as my glasses don't break, I'll be fine. Mac, I look at 2024, the big theme. We always look for a big theme on the year. I would say monkeys and musicals, once again, predicted by The Simpsons.
Yeah, a lot of monkey movies, for better or worse. In fact, there was a movie called Monkey Man without any monkeys in it. So that's how deep into the monkey verse we are. A few musicals. One musical that is really, really, I guess the word is, what's the word I'm looking for here, Go? Fucking.
I wasn't paying attention
People
to you.
are talking about Amelia Perez.
I think Hollywood looked at it and said, Marvel's not around. How about we start kicking off some of these other MCUs?
Yeah, there you go.
The monkey cinematic universe. The musical cinematic universe.
I started this list basically by breaking stuff into tiers. And at the very bottom of 2024, in a tier of its own, I have Madame Web.
I would argue you flip it and reverse it. This is the best movie from last year.
Madame Web, possibly the worst movie of all time. It's the worst movie I've ever seen in theaters by a lot. And I don't know if I'm ever going to have a theater experience as perplexing as watching Madame Web.
I love Madame Web. I have seen it multiple times. I've used it as a palate cleanser. I've watched it in the movies. I watched it on my TV. I've watched it on my phone. I've watched it on a plane. I like to watch it on planes just to get the people around me, sitting around me, really questioning what's going on with me.
Good. We've seen a lot of bad movies in our lifetime, especially a lot of bad comic book movies. It's just amazing that in the year of our Lord, 2024, we got a movie this bad. In a year that there were a couple other really, really all-time bad comic book movies, this one still stood out, head and shoulders above the rest.
This one, though, is in 2024, the memorable movies. There's only 2 or 3 like great movies that are so memorable. This one might be on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, in part because the Sonyverse crashed and burned finally in 2024, and Madame Web was a big part of that. So if you're talking themes and what the year will be remembered for, you're not wrong.
Kung Pao chicken.
So good.
So good. All right, Mac, a movie. So let's go on to dishonorable discharges. A movie that's close to Madame Web in being so bad that it's good. I had a wonderful time watching Trap.
15 movies in this upcoming category here.
No one cares.
I still haven't seen Trap. I'm never gonna see Trap.
I really wanted you to see it because, like, you understand, like, safety protocols, and you
Sure.
are also a stickler, like when you watched Madam Web and, you know, ambulance stuff, CPR stuff. Like, you understand that, and you're a stickler for movies getting that shit right.
Yeah,
So much of Trap just falls through the cracks.
yeah, and that's why I'm never gonna watch it. It's really easy, and go back and listen to our Madam Web review if you'd like me to listen to me harping on this. Um, it's really easy to just hire someone for a day or two that is not even an expert in these fields, that just work in these
May I
fields.
stop you right there? It's easier not to hire someone and just make it up.
Pay them whatever the fucking minimum wage is that SAG makes you pay people for a day's work, and they can very easily tell you, no, this is not what happens. This ruins this whole scene. And there was almost every scene of Madam Web had that, and you're telling me a lot of scenes of Trap
Trap is
has
so
that
great.
as
Trap has
well.
so many different levels of ridiculousness, whether it be Josh Hartnett, how he's caught, how he sneaks away so many times, how they like figure out that it's him. Lady Raven in the movie is just an amazing character. M. Night Shyamalan with his cameo, just unbelievable dialogue. I love Trap.
Who also we have here Craven the Hunter, which was so bad, but because Madam Web was so much worse, like I don't even hate
I
Craven
got
the
no
Hunter.
enjoyment from Craven the Hunter. I got enjoyment from Madam Web.
I agree. I just feel like I just feel like we've already forgotten about Craven. I think it is coming to Netflix pretty soon. Also here, a movie that Goo was dying for me to watch, and I did watch, Hot Frosty.
I did not tell you to watch this.
Yes, you did. You absolutely did tell me to watch this like 2 months ago.
Check the tape.
Starring Lacey Chabert and Ted from Schitt's Creek. This movie's really bad. This movie's really bad.
But it opens up so many worlds of like, what could we do with this magic scarf?
In here, we've got Roadhouse, The Beekeeper, Lisa Frankenstein. All really bad movies with premises that I guess were never really going to work. Roadhouse, of course, the remake with Jake Gyllenhaal. That movie just sucked. Conor McGregor was funny watching walk around. The Beekeeper's your classic Statham movie, but I'm over it. I'm done. Not for me. Lisa Frankenstein starred Ant-Man's daughter. She's pretty good in things.
That's
She's
her
not
name,
bad in this.
Ant-Man's daughter.
Catherine Newton. This movie sucked. It's really bad. And then Goo, we have Joker Folie à Deux in here, and there's a lot of people that feel the way about this that I feel about Madam Web.
No enjoyment. It's once again, it's no enjoyment. And after seeing it, you do buy into the theory that they wanted this to be bad.
I question about 90% of the decisions they made in this movie. However, because Lady Gaga and because Joaquin Phoenix like are trying, that makes it way better than Madam Web. Way better. And it's still really bad.
Shout out to Burt Ward when they entered the B ward of the hospital.
Yeah, yeah. We had Unfrosted, which was really fucking bad, but I understood what they were going for. I don't hate this movie as much as most people did.
They're trying to take the piss out of the corporate dramedies. Yeah.
Yeah. A few tweaks and it could have been all right, but it did suck. Kinds of Kindness, Yorgos Lanthimos's most recent movie, was confusing,
long,
boring, wasteful. It's bad. It's not good.
This was the movie that I saw and I questioned if I had any intelligence.
Spaceman, Spaceman, starring Adam Sandler and Paul Dano as a spider. I don't know if there was a more boring movie.
Was that on the DVD cover? Adam Sandler and then Paul Dano as a spider?
It was incredibly boring. And when we get Sandler in these dramatic roles without any hints of humor, it almost never works.
We're expecting him to knock it out of the park, though. Like if I'm seeing that he has signed on to do something uber serious, I'm saying there must be something to this.
Yeah, but like at least like with Uncut Gems, right? Or even a couple of the successful prior dramatic roles he's done, he's able to like play a quirky character or character to one of the extremes. This doesn't have any of that. It's devoid of fun or anything interesting.
Okay.
Venom: The Last Dance was bad, but also exactly what I expected, right?
I liked roughly 20 minutes of this.
I'll give you that. Argyle, a
Mhm.
movie that Goo and I were too excited for,
Way too
um,
excited for.
had 2 or 3 entertaining scenes, and then about halfway in, it takes a turn in a Madam Web direction. It's fucking the last
Yeah.
45 minutes of this movie are fucking tremendously bad. So fucking bad.
I question, and this might be a me and you thing. You know how some people have recency bias?
Mhm.
I think you and I, whatever the first big release of the year is, it doesn't matter what it is, we get so jacked up for it.
Because we just want like a
We
new
want
fresh
we
movie.
want the new year to start. We want to
Yeah,
get our new
yeah.
letterbox D going. And then this
Argyle was that.
So Argyle, I would argue, so you have a category here called disappointment.
Mhm.
I would put it in this. Now, let me explain why. Much like with Madam Web, I got some enjoyment out of when it jumps the shark when they discover what her real identity is. I think the movie completely jumps the shark, and I didn't give a fuck about the rest of this movie. But then they gave us 2 of the weirdest, dumbest action scenes I've ever seen. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm back.
The skating on the oil slicks might be the worst scene of
It
the year.
looks terrible, but I said, I know how to skate and I like this.
I agree this movie was a tremendous disappointment, but it was so bad it went below the disappointment category. That's why I had it here. And then the final 3 in the category, Goo, Red one. It was exactly what you thought it was going to be, a CGI fucking
Red.
snooze fest.
It describes it. It's red.
Garfield the movie, I didn't see. Our Little
I
Secret,
saw that one.
I didn't see. Those 2 are your contributions here. Goo,
Mhm.
next category you mentioned, the disappointments of 2024. I think we got maybe, I don't know, 9, 10, 11 movies here.
Oh, by the
Godzilla.
way, I also had the Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie in the prior one. I would have it there. Now, I'll tell you right now, I like what Lohan is doing. I think that she is cutting those chops right back up, and she's going to be right on the top of the world again. But this movie, in general, I hate Kristen Chenoweth, and the movie did not do it for me. But you can see where Lohan is going.
I'm glad you took the 30 seconds to explain that.
Yeah.
In the disappointing movies, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. I thought we were trending in the right direction. It's like the exact same.
I would have had it
as
one lower. I hated this movie.
Okay, no, that's fair. I wouldn't argue with this being in the dishonorable dischargers. It's just I didn't think it was bad, but you're right. It was not.
I thought
good.
it was wildly boring and dumb.
Yeah, that is 100% true. I'm not going to disagree there. Goo, Woman of the Hour, Anna Kendrick's directorial
Mhm.
debut, was getting so much hype, and I watched it and thought to myself, am I watching a different movie? Like, it was one of those things. Like, am I watching a movie separate from what's getting reviewed? It's not bad, but the direction from Kendrick isn't great. And the main actor playing the real life killer or quasi killer in this movie, he sucked. I didn't like the way the movie was structured. I had a lot of issues with this movie. Now it's not bad, but it got reviewed really well, and I thought it was tremendously disappointing.
Did you think you might be stupid when you were watching it?
No, I thought everyone else.
It wasn't Kinds of Kindness? Okay.
You know how I operate. Yeah. Well,
Everyone
that's
else
true.
is stupid. It's the children that are wrong.
Dude, Nosferatu. I was pretty excited to watch, and then didn't. Got to it 2
I
months
was
later.
so excited to watch and just never watched.
It's not good. I don't think it's good.
I'm
Like,
going
not
to
even
fully
close
admit
to
right
being
now,
good.
I ran out of steam by the end of last year.
I don't think Nosferatu is a good movie, and
Oh.
I'm stunned that it became Egger's highest grossing movie at the box office.
The
And I'm
great
stunned
con-
that so many people
People
did
love
like it.
Dracula's.
Yeah, this movie was not good to me, but apparently a lot of people liked it. Goo, it ends with us.
Right here.
Yeah.
Disappointment. I mean, it was advertised to me as a rom-com. It was not a rom-com.
This, of course, is the movie at the core of the Justin Baldoni and
Blake Lively.
Blake Lively. That's her name. The whole thing
I
there.
know way too much about this situation. My YouTube algorithm, thanks to my beautiful, lovely, amazing wife, is completely.
You guys share a YouTube account?
The one in our bedroom is the one, because I have a couple
Like on the
YouTube
TV?
accounts depending on. So the one in the bedroom is the one that goes to my personal Gmail account, and the algorithm is just fucked. It is just nonstop. It's Blake Lively and it is Justin Baldoni. It is that dumb reporter who used to do interviews. She's putting out constant videos on this. I can't even think of her name. She sucks. Perez Hilton is doing a video every hour on it. Look, I understand the hustle right now. People are eating this juicy gossip. But it's him. It's Andy Signor, who used to be the head of what the hell is that? The Honest Trailer stuff. Screen Junkies. He's putting out shit every couple hours too. I don't want any more videos.
Dude, here's my thought on the whole Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what the truth is. I don't care what happened. I don't care.
Don't tell my wife that. If she asks you, you say you say they're monsters.
Which people are monsters? Which side?
You don't have to say either one. Just say they're monsters. She'll
monsters.
Understand.
Go The Instigators, the Matt Damon, Casey Affleck movie that you were super excited to watch.
No, I wasn't. I saw it was on Apple TV.
Why were you so disappointed by it?
Well, you have Matt Damon and Casey Affleck and Gronk.
All right.
Not just the ultimate jock, but also might just be the ultimate jock.
4 movies here, Goo, that you have some disagreement with that I labeled disappointment.
Yes.
You say otherwise. I'll list them here. Hitman, Ricky Stenicki, A Quiet Place Day One, Challengers. Let's start with Hitman.
Yes.
Hitman looked like it was going to be a blast.
Mm-hmm.
Hitman was not a blast. It was fine.
So I will agree with you that it did not reach the blast level of what we wanted, but I think it checked a lot of boxes of what we want from a Glenn Powell movie. It had some humor. It had some twists. It had some sexiness. It did fine. Enough of what we want from a Glenn Powell movie.
It was fine, but I was expecting much more. Ricky Stenicki, this is a victim of its own, first 20, 30 minutes. The first 20, 30 minutes, very funny. The last hour, not funny at all.
First half an hour, not funny. Then there's about 25 to 30 minutes that is laugh out loud funny. Then the rest of it is terrible.
Yeah, it's a disappointing movie because the highs are very funny.
The highs are really high in it, though. I found...
But it's contained within a 20-minute part of the movie.
I could watch
outside of that, there's nothing
over again, though. It's hilarious. What do you want from a comedy?
The movie deserved to be 80 minutes of that, not 20 minutes of it.
Well, no. So say if you take that congested center of comedy and you spread that out over the 90 minutes, then you have yourself something.
Yeah, which is
but
why
you don't have that.
Disappointing.
You don't have that high though. That high. That's high.
A Quiet Place Day One. I love the first one. Really like the second one. This one, I just could not get invested in, man. I just didn't enjoy it. I'm
disappointed by it, but I think it's fine. I think it's cromulent.
Okay, but I'm speaking of it from my perspective of loved the first one, really enjoyed the second one. So the bar's here.
Okay.
I feel like it came in here.
But by you putting it here, you make it sound like it's bad.
No, not necessarily. It's not bad. It was just disappointing.
I don't like this next movie. I wouldn't call Challengers bad.
Oh, no, Challengers not bad, Goo. Challengers is a tremendous disappointment. We were promised tennis and sex. We got some tennis and a little bit of sex, and I don't know, the rest of the movie around it kind of sucked.
The movie should have been way sexier. And also, they should have paid off way more on that three-way scene.
The drama they were trying to build in that movie just did not hit. And yes, it's well made. It's well acted. You know, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross build a great score. That movie getting all the year-end praise that it got, or maybe didn't get, I don't know, is overblown. It's not a very good movie.
Every conversation is like a tennis serve, and you're just volleying it back and forth and trying to win the set.
Goo. Yeah. Next up, a category with 24, 25 movies in it, or 20 movies. I don't know what it is. I'm calling this It's Fine, You're Fine, Everything's Fine. This is a movie that I didn't like, I didn't hate. If you liked it more or liked it less, I don't really care.
Kind of forgettable, if you will.
Yeah. I'm going to run through it. You stop me when you'd like to talk about something.
Yeah.
Abigail, Mufasa the Lion King, Inside Out 2, I Like Movies, Civil War, If, Gladiator 2, Moana 2, Snack Shack, A Complete Unknown, Maxine, Sonic 3, Axel F, Late Night with the Devil, Transformers 1, Y2K, Twisters. No Twisters.
No, I just like you yelling Twisters. I thought you were going to finish the list, and then I'll
All
jump
right.
in on some of these.
Self-Reliance, Mean Girls, the musical, Kneecap, Amelia Perez, A Real Pain, The Bike Riders, and Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Now, the only one that I have in here that I battled with myself was The Bike Riders. I really, really liked it. Every single normal person I spoke to fucking hated it.
Yeah, we're not normal.
Hated it. So I put it here because I think I'm in the minority on that one. I think I liked it way more than most.
Okay, so I liked it just as much as you. I was going to argue with you on this one. I think it's better than fine.
It is better than fine. I guess 90% of the people say we're idiots.
I actually want to ask you about A Real Pain. You didn't like it?
A Real Pain. Oh, yeah. So I just watched that a couple weeks ago. Tremendously underwhelming, I guess is the word.
Okay.
Kieran Culkin is great. I had a hard time like paying attention to it. It was just not, it wasn't like really interesting. It's so heavy on the relationship between Kieran Culkin's character and Jesse Eisenberg's character. And don't get me wrong, they're acting up a storm. The movie itself is just not that interesting. So I understood why he's getting the praise. I just didn't care for the movie.
Okay, so Snack Shack does belong here, but I just want to point out once again, came out of nowhere. I did enjoy this as a comedy.
That movie should have been bad. It ended up being solid. Yeah. That's for sure. I'll give you that.
Late Night with the Devil, I like the concept, and I also like how it's shot, how it looks, how they grainy up the film, and the last 5 to 10 minutes, quite polarizing, kind of throwing a lot of stuff at you. But I think that might be better than just fine, because I feel that's not forgettable.
I was really annoyed that they gave us like those droplets of background stuff connecting a couple characters, and it just never pays off. Okay. And the end's just okay. Like I felt like it was close to being a pretty good movie, and it just didn't quite get there. It's not bad. There's a couple great scenes in it. David Dastmalchian is awesome.
Yeah.
I just did not like that movie as much as a lot of people.
I fucking love Twisters.
And maybe that's why I didn't.
How dare you put that in It's Fine and not worth money trip to theater?
Yeah.
This movie was made for the theater.
I drafted it. I was anticipating it. I was hoping for the best. Goo left the theater telling me it was akin to Top Gun Maverick. Yes. And when I saw it, I was like, this movie's not that fun.
No, I said in the way that it does a good job capturing what the original movie was.
Top Gun Maverick. And I was expecting either a blast or something as dramatic as what happens in that movie. And it ended up just being almost a rom-com, Goo. Almost a rom-com, which I like more than most. But that movie, Twisters, was a little underwhelming. I'll give you that.
I love Twisters. I thought it was a fun ride for all. We're chasing storms. I can read the cumulus clouds right now.
The best thing from Twisters,
it's raining right now.
And I think it's something that more people should have on their vehicles, if it is a real life thing, is screws that go into the ground if you live out in the flats.
I would put Self-Reliance in something lower. I didn't really care for Self-Reliance.
Yeah, we're the opposite on this one. I enjoyed it a lot. I really liked Self-Reliance. However, I went in thinking it was not going to be very good. So Biff Whiff's in this as well, I think.
Yes, right? And then Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I don't know where I would put it. I think it's better than fine, but I wouldn't, like, I didn't see it in the theaters. I saw it on a plane, and I was like, this is pretty good. I like this.
Yeah, I still haven't watched that one, so I'll just say it belongs here. So that makes sense. Good. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. These are the four movies that, well, there's more after here, but 4 movies to me that were well worth a trip to the theater, well worth your money, even at home. Actually, 5 of them. Watchmen chapters 1 and 2, the animated versions of the graphic novel. Mm-hmm. Beetlejuice, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Monkey Man. Now, these 5 movies, I don't really think deserve being in the discussion of best movie of the year, which we're coming up with the next 7. But I do think they deserve praise for being a movie worthy going to see in the theater or talking about and spending your money on.
The one movie that I would move down from here is I think that Beetlejuice is just fine.
Oh, I enjoyed it. It's one of the better comedies of the year. Maybe top 2 or 3 comedy of the year, you know?
I thought it made me laugh enough. I love Catherine O'Hara, but for almost every other character, I was like, even Beetlejuice, and I love
I thought the
myself some
pacing
Michael
was
Keaton.
great too. You're
I
in,
love
you're out.
myself some Michael Keaton, but I'm like, this ain't the same pacing. This ain't the same guy, and he's definitely sanitized from what he was in the '88 movie.
Yeah, some of this for you, most of this for you is that you have the original movie as like a 40 dogger.
I love the original.
And so you wanted, I guess, more dark Beetlejuice than like
Mhm.
hijinks Beetlejuice. Is that fair to say?
But I also like the Beetlejuice animated show, which was hijinks.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think you're just confusing yourself on that one.
I'm so confused right now.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, carrying on the monkey
Yeah.
movies. That was in the top 5 or 6 for both of us for a long part of the year until we got towards the end. Really enjoyable movie. Looked great on screen. Monkey Man, I would say the best 30 or 40 minutes of Monkey Man is up there with anything on the year.
Yeah,
It was just a really uneven movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
Moving on to the underrated / not enough people have seen these movies. These are 2 I've been talking about for a while. You have as well. The first one, Furiosa, came out really early last
Ruled.
year.
Yes.
Got absolutely buried, made
It
no money.
bombed.
Yeah,
Bombed.
made no money. And I didn't really like Fury Road, so I had no intentions of seeing it in the theater. Then I finally catch Furiosa 2 or 3 months later after you had told me, I think you would like Hemsworth and what he does and whatnot. And I borderline loved this movie. Really enjoyed it.
Hemsworth's Dementis is right up your alley.
Yeah, it was.
It's
And
your exact style.
Anya Taylor-Joy was fantastic. I thought everything about Furiosa was better than Fury Road. And I know I'm probably in the minority there, but I loved Furiosa. I think the real winner of this category, the real movie that the essence of this category is My Old Ass, the movie starring Aubrey Plaza as the older version of a character. This movie is a delight. There's great heart to this movie. It's funny. It's going to make you cry. I haven't heard anyone talking about this fucking movie. It's got nothing for award season. Not that maybe it was to that level.
No.
But My Old Ass, to me, was one of the 6 or 7 best movies of the year, and no one's been talking about it.
Yeah, it was a great coming of age with a little, I won't call it a twist, but a nice little spin at the end.
Yeah, and it just hits on all the feels. And the subject matter of it is pretty relatable for a lot of people. So I think a lot of people will grab to what they're talking about and doing. It's just a really, really fucking well-made movie. So go watch My Old Ass if you haven't seen it. Moving on to the honorable mentions here. We have 3 of them, and I think you would agree with these 3, Goo, of the non-4 Mount Rushmore movies. Deadpool and Wolverine, The Wild Robot, and Fall Guy.
Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine I thought was a great third movie for Deadpool, but also closing the book on all of those Fox movies, a return for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, all of the Easter eggs, all of the nods. We get Chris Evans back, we get Channing Tatum, we get Wesley Snipes. I don't necessarily love the ending of this movie, and really, as a whole, this movie isn't a great movie per se, but as a spectacle, as a tentpole, it's fantastic.
Yeah, so kind of, Christ airing off of that. I guess you could probably blame me for not having this in our final 4, but I agree with what Goose said, and I'm trying to capture what 2024 is going to be remembered for, and I think as the months pass and as the years pass, it'll be remembered less for Deadpool and Wolverine and more for the movie that I chose over it, even though I may have liked Deadpool and Wolverine a little bit better at the time. But the movie I ended up choosing over it, I think I've been more excited to see people's feelings on. It was obviously great theater experience, but like Goose said, as a movie, it's not that great. We just loved the fan service.
Fall Guy is great too. I love Silly Goss. I thought this was a really funny movie, great action, maybe a little too inside baseball for some people, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and a lot of what we said about Furiosa, I think, applies to Fall Guy too. Didn't make nearly enough money, not enough people saw it, and it's a great movie. Truly a great movie. Absolute romp, and like you said, you get Goss at his best. The Wild Robot made Goo cry 3 times.
Baby!
It made me cry once. A really heartfelt movie that came out of fucking nowhere, out of complete left field.
It's a book. I think there's 2 more books.
Okay, all right. Well, we don't read, so that's why it comes out of nowhere for
It's
us.
also a children's book. I don't.
Um,
I read a lot of children's books now.
and you know what this
I'm on
movie?
the 6th Dogman book right now.
Okay, there you go. Look at
Yeah,
that.
book for 3rd graders.
What the Wild Robot did really well is break your heart like 2 or 3 different times in separate ways, and it really is almost. It's almost like there's chapters in this movie, but it works. It just plays
Yeah.
out really well, and the ending is phenomenal. It's just a great story. If you haven't seen The Wild Robot, for my money, the best animated movie on the year. I did get a chance to start that movie Flow that has
Mhm.
been winning a lot of the animated movie awards. It's on Max right now. I'm having a hard time. There's no
Okay.
words in it,
Yeah.
so you're just watching and it sounds, and I don't know, maybe it's not for me, but
Just
I
keep in mind,
digress.
guys, if a robot can love, maybe Matt can too someday.
There you go. Without further ado, getting into our top 4 movies of 2024, I'll start it off with what I think is the best movie of 2024 and what I am hoping wins Best Picture on Sunday night, Goo. That movie is Anora. Anora is a rated R comedy, drama, and romance. It made $38 million in its box office run on a $6 million budget. Absolutely crushed it. It has a runtime of 139 minutes. It's 2 hours and 19 minutes, and it feels much quicker than that. It takes you on a fun little joyride. On Roddy T's, it's 93% from the critics, 89% from the audience. On Metacritic, a 91,
Wow.
91, unheard of in the 90s for Metacritic. This is written and directed by Sean Baker, who gave us the Florida Project, Red Rocket, and was one of the creators of Greg the Bunny.
Not unhappily ever after.
Not unhappily ever
Not
after.
unhappily ever
So
after.
Goo knows that now. Synopsis of Anora. A young escort from Brooklyn meets and impulsively marries the son of a Russian oligarch. Once the news reaches Russia, her fairy tale is threatened as her parents set out for New York to get the marriage annulled. There is a cast of 5 characters in this movie that this whole movie is built around. The dialogue, the back and forth, the characters ping-ponging off of each other. And it stars Mikey Madison as Anora, a.k.a. Annie. I hope she wins Best Actress. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Demi Moore. I think
Same.
she's deserving, but what are you going to do? The other 4 here are Mark Edelstein, who plays Ivan, her sort of love interest. And then the 3 like cronies, henchmen here are Vache Tovmasian as Garnick. He's the bearded dude, the one that Annie breaks his nose. You have Yura Borisov as Igor. He's the bald one who's actually nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And then Karen Karagulian as Toros. He's the godfather
The
of the love
Armenian,
interest.
who
Yes.
should be nominated.
He's great, too.
He's
great.
amazing in this.
So, Goo describes this movie as Pretty Woman meets Uncut Gems, and I think that's pretty apt. I think this movie's better than both of those movies, so it is selling it a little short, unless you love those 2 movies, and I love
I do
Uncut
love
Gems.
those 2 movies.
Not everyone loves Pretty Woman, but I do think this is better than that. It's what Goo's saying by doing that is like it's a Cinderella story that goes sideways, right? And it's a
With
good
lot of
description.
yelling.
Yeah, it's a good description of what happens in the movie. There's a lot of hysterical parts in this movie, and the dynamic that gets built between Annie and those 3 dummies tasked with holding her and finding Ivan is fantastic. I think the 30-ish or so minutes of the Armenian that Goo's talking about, driving over to the house and the phone conversation and what's going on in the house is probably my favorite 30 minutes of any movie all year. It's fucking incredible. And like, it gets really dark, but the comedic notes in it keep it light enough that it's like, you're able to watch it and rewatch it. It's amazing, the writing in this movie, in my opinion. And I'm sort of stunned that this isn't going to win an award for script. As heartbreaking as the outcome of this movie is, I loved that it like really fits the movie. And the final 20-ish minutes of the movie, like really kind of simmered down, and it almost acts more of like a, what's the word? Like I'm losing my brain here, Goo. I forget what the word I'm looking for is, but it almost acts as like an after the movie to show you a little bit of where the characters are going. And I really enjoyed that. It was a nice little cherry on top of the whole thing.
Lemachin. That's what it is.
What?
Lemachin, right?
Lemajin? That's what you're
Lemajin.
talking about, the Armenian pizza type of thing?
I've been looking up. I'm like, what the fuck is that Armenian bread treat?
Yeah. Lemajin is delicious. I like
Yeah.
a nice garlic beef lemajin with a little sour cream. Delicious. This movie hits on a lot of relatable romantic notes. It's funny, it's poignant, it's a very entertaining movie. I love these characters. To me, Goo, it's the only 40 dogger of 2024. I love Honora.
Yeah, I also really liked Nora. I have it, I think, 3, possibly 2 on the air. I really like both of the movies that are nominated for the Academy Award that we have in our top 4. This was, and
Actually, 3 of them are nominated.
shut the fuck up. The
All
final
4 should be.
the final 20 minutes of this movie, and really specifically the final 10, really stick with you. And you watch it, and you're kind of, you're not, I'm trying to think of like the way to say this, because like Uncut Gems makes you really anxious.
All 4 are nominated for Best
I
Picture.
don't care.
Just wanted
Uncut
to
Gems
correct you.
makes you really anxious.
Yes.
The end of this movie, like you feel kind of gross by what you just saw and how she was treated and how her life has just fallen apart. She's a puzzle and the pieces are all over the place, and how it just kind of ends. And it's you figuring out where she goes from here.
Left with your own thoughts of where the characters may
Yeah.
go. And go to your Uncut Gems point. This movie feels like it operates in the same Uncut Gems world, right?
Mhm.
Like it could be, you could have characters cross over amongst the 2 movies, and I think that's one of the best things about this movie.
But yeah, I loved the stuff that was very obvious on the screen, and then I love what they left to your imagination at the end.
Yep, totally agree.
Mac, my first nominee to get into the Mac and Guvie vault, is also nominated for an Academy Award. Apparently, all 4 of these are, so I'll go fuck myself. Rated R, a drama, horror, comedy, dark comedy. That is The Substance. It is also body horror, psychological horror, monster horror, social commentary, if you will. You know, women
For
get
sure.
old, men get old.
Especially the final 15 minutes.
How am I going to deal with when I get old? How am I going to deal with it?
That's
Not
a great
well. I'll
question.
tell you that much.
Great
I'm
question.
already not dealing with it very well. I have to cut the sides of my hair as much as possible because that's where the whites come in.
Where you get all your honkies.
That's where the honkies come in, right around the ears. I get the Polly Walnut going on usually.
I was gonna say the Reed Richards. You're not into the Reed Richards?
I go Polly Walnut. I'm an Italian, Mac.
Sure.
Just
sure.
like Lady Gaga.
Stephanie Germanotta.
Right. It has a runtime of 141 minutes. Rotten Tomatoes, 89%, 75%. On Metacritic, a 78. That's you, by the way.
Is that me? Are
Yeah.
you doing me?
Written and directed by Coralie Farge, I believe.
Coralie Farja.
Farja, thank you. She is known for Revenge from 2017, a Metacritic of 81, Rotten Tomatoes of 93. And the synopsis of this movie: a fading celebrity takes a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of yourself. Respect the balance, Mac. Movie stars Demi Moore, who is probably going to win Best Actress as Elizabeth Sparkle, Margaret Qualley as Sue, who should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress,
For
and
sure.
then Dennis Quaid, who is a scene-stealing gentleman, plays the guy named Harvey, who, out of all of the stuff that happens in this movie, maybe the most disgusting thing is him eating shrimp.
Goo, this movie,
Yes.
I don't know. I think you had seen it and told me to watch it, or we both kind of
We
learned about it
watched
at the
at
same
the
time.
exact same time.
Yeah. It was
You
weird
were 15
happening.
minutes ahead of me.
Yeah, it was weird the way it happened. We both kind of stumbled upon it, in the beginning of fall last year.
Mhm.
And like very quickly I was like, oh, this is going to be right up Goo's alley. And what this movie does is it forces you to make a decision like 20 minutes in of whether you're going to continue and watch the rest
Yeah.
of it, because it gets pretty gross. And I would understand if someone never finished this movie, but after it throws an uppercut right to your jaw and you stick with it, it's fucking tremendous.
You are glued. This is a
Yeah.
mix of
Yeah. You
Requiem
become
for a Dream
so
and
invested.
Fly. I think there's a little bit of Parasite in there because the third act really takes a hard left turn.
Yeah, for sure. This movie does an incredible job of getting you invested in its outcome.
Both actresses are amazing, but I think the real standout here is the makeup, is the look, is the sound, is the prosthetics, is the sets. It's all top notch. Dennis Quaid steals the scenes that he is in. The whole movie has this like fast, heightened, in your face feel about it. One of the big things like with Dennis Quaid is that whenever he's on the screen, it's almost like you have this upper god fisheye on him.
The way the movie shot was brilliant. So many awesome shots in the movie.
The movie also gets going extremely quickly, doesn't waste any time, and has a very effective ending that maybe you hate, maybe you love, but you're not going to forget it.
Yep. Probably the most memorable scene of the year. It has a very Carrie-like finale. And man, it's super memorable and a movie that you want people to watch, even if they hate it, because you can still have a fun conversation about it.
And also the scene with her on stage goes on maybe forever.
Let's go on. Tremendously
It
loved.
makes you bathe in it. They say, oh, you don't like this? I don't care.
Yeah, it really hits you over the head with it.
Yeah.
And I do think it's very fitting for the movie, and it's very clear that they planned out that ending well ahead of anything else. It's a really smart movie, even though it's doing some really vulgar things, and it really makes you question what you may or may not do in certain situations, or makes you question who the good guy is, who the bad guy is. And it just really gets you invested and really has you rooting for certain things. And it's a movie that actually qualifies for not enough people have seen it. I have seen a lot of people tweeting at us or at Dork over the last 2-3 months once they've finally seen it and being like, oh, I kind of low-key loved this movie. Next one up. Third nominee for Best Movie of 2024. And the movie I ultimately chose over Deadpool and Wolverine, so sue me. Wicked, Part 1, a PG musical fantasy and romance movie, made $728 million worldwide, 472, almost 3 domestically. This has become the highest grossing Broadway musical adaptation of all time. And how about this one? One of the top 10 highest grossing original non-sequel movies ever at the domestic box office. So that's a pretty good one.
I can tell you right now, not to poo-poo Mac, this was not in my top 4. I had this somewhere in the 20s on the year. I'm not a musical boy, and this did not hold my attention.
Yeah, but to be fair, you were like, I'm taking Dune Part 2 and The Substance, and you made me pick
You
the fourth
just
one.
gave away our final nominee. No one had any idea what we were going to say.
Although I probably still would have picked this because I don't think Deadpool and Wolverine deserves to steal the poll. So I wanted to remove that.
No, it's
from
fine.
The
No,
equation.
I'm just saying, like, for me, this is not it.
Understood. Well, sit back and relax, Goo. This movie had a runtime of 160 minutes, 2 hours and 40 minutes, and it fucking flies by. For a movie that comes up and approaches 3 hours, it did not feel like that at all. On Roddy T's, 88% from the critics, 95% from the audience, a 73 on Metacritic. This is written by Winnie Holtzman, Dana Fox, and based on the musical written by Steven Schwartz and Winnie Holtzman, which is based on the book by Gregory Maguire. And all of this, of course, this lore is based on the original book, The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, LFB, Elphaba.
Elphaba! I blew people's minds at work when I fucking brought that up because you told me that fun fact. So I'm like, I'm going to be cool. I'm going to bring this up.
This movie is directed by John M. Chu, who I think is going to be able to direct whatever the fuck he wants for the foreseeable future. You may know him from Step Up 2, Step Up 3D, G.I. Joe Retaliation.
That's how I know him. Yeah.
Now You See Me Too. But more importantly, he's done Crazy Rich Asians, which made $1 billion, In the Heights, and now this. Upcoming, of course, he's directing Wicked 2, aka Wicked for Good. He's also doing the Swiss Family Robinson movie, Crazy Rich Asians 2, and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. So he's probably going to get first dibs at all the Broadway shows, right?
So because of my dyslexia, I read that as Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcast, and I'm like, fuck, I want to see that.
I'm in on that. Synopsis: Elphaba, a misunderstood young woman because of her green skin, and Glinda, a popular girl, become friends at Shiz University in the land of Oz. After an encounter with the wonderful Wizard of Oz, their friendship reaches a crossroads.
Okay, you also ruined something for me in this movie too. Like, it made me think it's even dumber than what I first thought.
Okay.
Is that you made the point of saying in the podcast that everyone just mocks and makes fun of this green-skinned lady, yet there are talking animals?
Yeah. Tough look.
Yeah.
I know. I get it. It's a stain on the land of Oz, that's for
Right?
sure. And that's why, full disclosure, I think I have this movie at 36 hot dogs, and I don't think it's as good as the other 3 movies we're talking about. But I think if you're talking about the year of 2024 in movies, it deserves mention. And 2024 is going to be remembered for Wicked.
Talking goat, normal. Flying monkey, normal. Green skin, what the shit?
But it's so that's why the green skin is, they're telling the story of essentially of all these animals that are getting persecuted eventually in this movie. They're being used as separate, lower than normal, and that's
But
also
no
what's
one's
happening to
mocking the
Elphaba.
goat.
They somewhat are, but you're right. It is a weird dynamic for sure. Also, I didn't talk about this in our episode, but people were like stunned to think that the wizard is Elphaba's father when it's made very clear in like the opening scene when a drunk, they don't show him, but a drunk Jeff Goldblum comes waltzing in and bangs Elphaba's mother. Like, that was very clear that was Jeff Goldblum. So I don't know why people didn't pick up on that. This movie stars Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, Ariana Grande as Galinda, Jeff Goldblum as the Wonderful Wizard of Oz, Michelle Yeoh as Madame Morrible, Jonathan Bailey as Fiero, Ethan Slater as Bach, Marissa Bodie as Nessa Rose, Peter Dinklage as Dr. Dillamond, that was the goat Goose talking about, Andy Nyman as Governor Thrupp, Bowen Yang as Piffany, Bronwyn James as Shishen. This movie is all about the dynamic between Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. This movie would not be nearly as good or as successful if these two weren't so talented and didn't have such great chemistry together. Yeah, Goose waving his pinky finger. If you watched any of the promo for this movie, you would see how bizarre those two are together, and it shows in this movie. That said, they are two of the most talented singers on the planet, and that helps this movie tremendously.
That's the reason why this is passing, as opposed to, like, I did not care for Wonka. And I like me some Timmy Chalamet, but when they opened the movie with him singing, I'm like, I've made a huge mistake.
Immediate turnoff. And we're Timmy Chal's boys, and we couldn't get
these two women here are amazing singers.
Incredible. And even if you go back and listen to all of the Elphabas doing the riff that she does at the end of this movie, they're not as good as Cynthia Erivo. She does it the best I've heard out of any of them.
Really?
That's fucking amazing.
Even better than Idina Menzel.
Much better than Idina
Really, because she is a very good singer. I've heard her Let It Go song at least 1 billion times.
She doesn't have the high register that Cynthia Erivo has, though. So hers comes off a little more, I don't know what the word is. I'm not a technical singer, but it doesn't have the same effect. Once again, for 2.5 hours, this movie flies by. It does a great job creating the contrast between the two characters, Elphaba and Glinda. I still think Ariana Grande is getting absolutely fucking robbed of Best Supporting Actress from this movie. I mean, they're giving it to, listen, I love Zoe Saldana, but they're giving it to her in a significantly worse movie, a significantly worse musical. And Ariana Grande is better in this movie. She just simply is. This movie is better. I don't understand. I for the life of me, I will be thinking about how Zoe Saldana is going to win in a landslide for Emilia Perez, and that Ariana Grande was like never even an option. It's going to bother me for years. The story in this movie is very easy to grip onto. It pulls from real life shit, obviously. The practical sets in this movie are fantastic. The costumes are great. And even Goo, who didn't love this movie, loves the scene in the library, dancing through life with Fiero, where the library and the books are spinning. It's so cool.
It's like Inception.
Visually, this movie's great. It's truly awesome. There's 3 great songs in this movie that become memorable, I think, instantly, maybe not enough for Goo. The ending with Defying Gravity is fucking incredible. I am so looking forward to part 2. And once again, I think the 3 movies, Anora, The Substance, and the movie we're going to talk about in 1 second, are the 3 movies that should be up at the top for 2024.
I just
But
realized this. All 4 of these movies are nominated for Best Picture.
this movie, I was stunned that I was so excited to talk about with people. Like, my dad ended up seeing it about a month after it came out. He loved it. We had a good conversation about it. Like, this movie got better over time with me. The more I thought about it, the more I had time to think about the shit in the movie. I don't know. Fun movie. Maybe 4th or 5th best on the year, but worth discussing for 2024.
All right, and the final nominee to get into the Mac and Guvie Vault, and I think the movie that will win a 40-dogger for me, rated PG-13, Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2. Action, adventure, drama, sci-fi, runtime of 166 minutes. Dune, the original one, was 155 minutes. A Rotten Tomatoes of 92% from the critics, 95% from the audience. Meta of 79. That's good, Mac. Written by Denis Villeneuve and John Spates.
John Spates, that sounds good.
And then this is, of course, directed by Denis Villeneuve. It's Villeneuve, right?
Villeneuve, I believe.
I did watch him pronounce it recently. And then unsung hero of this movie, and maybe of the last couple years, is Greg Fraser or Frazier. I don't know how he pronounces it, but
who is that?
Cinematographer who is not only doing these Dune movies, but also the Batmans and the Creator.
And that movie, The Creator, which was either last year or 2 years ago, visually was fucking amazing. I kind of hated the movie, the plot. Visually, one of the coolest looking movies ever made. So there you go, Greg Fraser, a big part of that. And because Dune Part 3 is getting made quicker, Dune Messiah, and because the Batman Part 2 is getting bumped off, he's going to be able to do both movies, which is a blessing for all of us.
Synopsis: Paul Atreides unites the Shani and Fremen while seeking revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family.
Yep, this movie is ultimately as great as the supporting cast is. Zendaya, Shani, Rebecca Ferguson as
Becky Fergs, Javier Bardem
as the mother,
Butler, Josh
Bardem's
Brolin,
great as Stilgar, Brolin's good as Halleck.
It's to start listing fucking people. This
Dave
movie
Bautista,
has everybody.
Yeah, Christopher Walken, Lea Seydoux, Stellan Skarsgård. But what this movie really is, and what we talked about so much during our review, is Timothée Chalamet makes a turn about halfway through this movie and turns into the baddest motherfucker alive. And I did not think he had it in him. I didn't think this motherfucker had it in him, and he does, and he fucking crushes it.
This pipsqueak, this twerp. Yeah. And I was sitting there roughly an hour and a half in going, how is this little guy gonna be a leader of men? And then you hit that fucking twist, and then we go, not twist, you hit that button, I would say. And then for the final 90 minutes of this movie, and you could argue this movie starts out slow. The first movie's a little slow, but everything is worth it once you hit that button, because the final 90 minutes of this is just peak cinema. It is everything in it. Fun factor, satisfactor, no barometer. The acting is amazing. The direction is amazing. This thing looks amazing. The last 90 minutes just blew me away and took away any doubt that I had in the first movie or the first 90 minutes. And I love this. This is a 40 hot dog movie. It's up there with the best sequels of all time. Just credit to Denis Villeneuve, because just the direction and the sight on this. When the movie ended, Mac and I are sitting in the theater. Usually we'll kind of talk, we'll joke around. We're just sitting there, we're thinking, like, where do we go from here? Not only in the movie, but in life.
So this movie, the reason, first of all, I would be perfectly happy if this won the poll. The final 90 minutes of this movie is maybe the best 90 minutes of a movie I've seen probably since Blade Runner 2049, another Denis Villeneuve movie. My main issue is the issue that I had with the first movie. I have this at 39 hot dogs because it took 4 hours of build up for that final hour.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. But there's something to be said about a story that needs 4 hours of buildup in order for that to take place and for that turn to happen. The turn when it happens is phenomenal. I mean, it's like the final 90 minutes is balls to the wall, and it's fucking awesome. And I'm so looking forward to what's going to happen in the third movie. It's just, I do think there's something to be said that it took 4.5 hours to get there. And so the journey was a little boring. As much as I love these characters, the journey was a little boring. That's all.
And once again, movies that blend cinema and movie going deserve more credit.
I totally agree. Yeah. So this is both, like, I guess art house is too strong, but this is cinema, film, and also a blockbuster. And that doesn't come along too often. And Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan, to some degree, has done a lot of that over the last 15 years. And that's why they're the two best directors on the planet, because they're combining every good aspect of movie making, every reason why someone would want to go to the movies. This is a quintessential theater movie. You need to watch this and get your ears blown out. You need to watch this on the biggest screen imaginable. It's just, this is why you go to the movies, for movies like Dune 2.
Matt, can you please once again tell the people at home the final 4 movies that could possibly get into the Mac and Guvie vault?
The 4 movies up for Best Movie of 2024 are Anora, The Substance, Wicked, and Dune Part 2.
So head over to X, head over wherever, pretty much just X. Maybe we'll do something on Instagram. I don't know. Yeah, vote on these 4 movies. Tell us the movie that should get into the Mac and Guvie vaults.
Let's get into Mac Sack.
And Mac Sack could be anything. It could be a boat. And Mac, yesterday around 2 o'clock-ish, you sent me a link to an article that we are now famous. We made it into Barstool Sports, one of our clips. And in this article, they say that my father should be committed to a mental asylum.
Yeah, so welcome in all 2 new followers from our Barstool publicity. Goo's clip that he put on TikTok about his father dipping his cold cuts in mayo somehow made it into the hands of Rico Bosco at Barstool. I know Goo has no idea who he is, but those of you that follow Barstool, somehow Rico stumbled upon that TikTok and blogged it and basically said that Goo's dad should be institutionalized. So that was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. I think it happened around 11 a.m. yesterday to see my stupid face and mustache plastered on the main Barstool page.
That's also the best part about it, because you have very little to do with the clip.
I say almost nothing.
You're there as a supporting character, giving a little insight into, like, I like a little bit of mayonnaise, but
I like a little bit.
Whereas I am doing the heavy lifting of not only setting up the whole mayonnaise thing and then throwing my father under the bus.
Yeah.
And then you pop up and you're like, that's a good quote. Yet here we are. You're the face of this operation now.
So once again, welcome into our 2 new listeners.
Yeah. I also like how, I sent it to my wife. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And she read it and she goes, they didn't even mention your name. And I'm like, that might be for the best, honestly.
They didn't mention either of our name. They just said, this guy's dad.
This guy's dad.
Actually, I don't get mentioned at all.
I'd prefer them saying that as opposed to Brian Antonelli's dad should be tossed in a mental asylum.
And on top of it, Bosco is such a divisive. That's the word I was looking for. The Substance is divisive. A couple other movies divisive. Divisive was the word I was looking for 40 minutes ago. Bosco is such a divisive character at Barstool. No one paid attention to our stupid faces and just continued to shit on Bosco. So that was good.
I mean, there were some people online that were defending my dad, saying, what is flavor?
Some people thought it was a genius move.
Yeah.
Here's my take on it. Wholeheartedly, if you're not sharing mayonnaise with anyone else, do whatever the fuck you want with your mayonnaise. If you're sharing mayonnaise with more than just yourself, do not be dipping shit in the mayonnaise.
All right, Mac, where can the people find us?
You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Mac and Goo Podcast. Every other platform, we are Mac & Goo. That's Mac Shift 7 Goo. Includes Facebook, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Spreaker, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify, but more importantly, we're on Apple Podcasts. Get on there, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars. If you do that, we'll get you a free Mac and Goo t-shirt from the folks over at Watertown Sportswear. Watertown Sportswear on 34 Mount Auburn Street in Watertown. WatertownSportswear.com. Watertown Sportswear.com, expert screen printing and embroidery.
I don't know, man. tpublic.com merch.
Search.
All right, so this is once again the last time we are ever going to talk about 2024 movies. They have been thrown in the dirt. They're gone. Next week, we have a dump at the beginning of the week, and then at the end of the week, Mickey 17.
No, it comes out a week after that, I think, doesn't it?
I don't think so.
I think it's 2 weeks out. I'm pretty sure.
Fuck.
I could be wrong, but
I
we
hope you
do
are
have
wrong.
the Mickey 17 screening next week. And first of all, fuck you, Disney. Second of all,
Hey.
very much. This is a year and a half in the making. This movie for Goo and I. So we're very
Back-to-back
excited.
years, number 2 most anticipated movie of the year. Here we go. We finally get to see it.
I hope it's fucking great. I hope it's awesome.
So check us out next week. Tuesdays are Goose Days. I abuse kangaroos. Tim
Bye.
Burton.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.
Now it's time for girls jumping on trampolines.